Beneath the unyielding sands of time lies a city, once consumed by fire that roared for 3 days and nights beneath the will of a conqueror whose legacy turned to ash. Yet the blaze, furious though it was, could not erase what was never merely built in stone. From the scorched earth rose not silence, but echoes, whispers of an ancient tongue, fragments of a knowledge older than kings, murmuring from a realm where mortals once spoke with the stars. This was Persepolis, not simply a ruin, but a living archive of memory, carved with sacred intent, infused with cosmic alignment, and preserved as if by divine conspiracy. Here kings were not rulers but bridges, channels between humankind and the unseen forces that bind existence together. It was never built for permanence in the material world, but for endurance in the realm of the soul. It lives now as a question carved in flame. What truths did they know that we have forgotten? And more urgently, are we ready to remember? If you feel the stir of that same question, subscribe to the channel, join the conversation, and comment the number 7 below to show that you too are listening to the whispers of the ancient ones. As we stand before its weathered remnants, tracing the scars of time across its stones, a question lingers in the air. Does Persepolis merely lie in wait, or does it watch us in return? Its gaze, cold and eternal, seems to pierce through the veil of centuries, patiently anticipating the moment when humanity might rise to unravel its celestial summons. This is no passive relic. It is a sentinel of the ages, a mirror reflecting our own unawakened potential. In its silence, it challenges us to listen, to peer deeper into the abyss of our past, not merely to see what was, but to discern what might yet be, a call resounding from the distant stars. When Darius first dreamed Persepolis into being, he did not merely erect another seat of imperial might, he forged a sacred geometry, embedding it into the very flesh of the earth. Nestled at the base of Mount Ramat, the Mountain of Mercy, its location was no arbitrary choice but a deliberate act of cosmic intent. This was hallowed ground, a liminal space where the veil between heaven and earth grew thin, where stone met sky in a silent pact, and kings transcended their mortal shells to become something greater. Persepolis was not just the beating heart of the sprawling Achaemenid Empire. It was a celestial anchor, a mirror of the stars cast in terrestrial form, a nexus where the divine brushed against the mundane. At its core rose the Apadana, a monumental audience hall unparalleled in its grandeur, its roof borne aloft by columns crowned with bulls, lions, and griffins. Mythic sentinels not of this world, but of realms beyond, guarding secrets older than time. The sweeping ceremonial staircases that ascended to its heights were more than mere architecture. They were sacred conduits, etched with symbols of eternal meaning, guiding delegates from 28 distant satrapies upward in a procession of reverence. Carved into the stone balustrades, these emissaries, frozen in exquisite relief, stand not as subjugated vassals, but as dignified bearers of a unified cosmic order, bound not by chains but by the spiritual gravity of the king's presence. Their offerings, gold, ivory, lapis lazuli, fine linens, rare spices, were not mere tributes to a ruler, but oblations to a living axis mundi, a conduit between worlds. Beneath this splendor lay the treasury, a fortified vault that cradled more than riches. It enshrined the empire's pulse, a rhythm woven from ritual, prophecy, and encoded memory, a heartbeat resonating through the ages. Every facet of Persepolis was intentional, its design a symphony of precision, aligned not only with the Earth's cardinal directions, but with the vast machinery of the heavens above. Scholars still grapple with its enigmas, the structure's uncanny stellar alignments, the recurring motifs of solar cycles, the 12-petaled lotus flowers blooming in stone, emblems of time, yes, but also of transformation, of a deeper alchemy at work. Was Persepolis a city of governance, or something more? A celestial map? A transmitter pulsing with unseen frequencies? A beacon calling out across the void? Some whisper it might be a shadow of a lost archetype, a blueprint of divine origin, obscured yet omnipresent. Its symmetry, its scale, its obsessive weaving of metaphor into form, all suggest a purpose beyond the political, to synchronize humanity with nature and the invisible currents of existence. Here, the king was no mere monarch. He was a priest-architect, a vessel for cosmic will, shaping stone into a testament of transcendence. His court was not just a theater of power but a sacred rite, a living liturgy played out on the stage of the material world. To tread the polished platforms of Persepolis was to trace the pathways of the stars themselves, each step an echo of celestial harmony. The rituals enacted there, shrouded in mystery, rarely inscribed, may have been keys to unlock perception, summoning the gods not as distant ideals but as tangible presences woven into the air. The architecture sang its own hymn, its proportions, acoustics, and spatial resonance crafting a harmonic field where energy flowed like a river through the ether. Yet, for all its majesty, Persepolis remained unfinished. Successive kings layered halls, gates, and sanctuaries upon its bones. Yet the vision never reached completion, as if it mirrored the eternal human longing for reunion with the divine, an unfinished symphony of cosmic yearning. In this incompleteness lies its most profound riddle. Born of ambition, raised by fire, and left as ruins, Persepolis endures as both genesis and warning. A city conceived in vision, consumed by conquest, and preserved in desolation as a message threading through millennia. It dares us to rethink civilization, not as a construct of power, but as a metaphysical quest, a striving toward alignment with the infinite. What if the ancients grasped truths we've let slip through our fingers? What if Persepolis was not a monument to dominion, but a vessel of memory, a mechanism to hold humanity's place within the cosmic tapestry? The deeper we peer into its silence, the louder it speaks. Not in the dry prose of textbooks, but in a language of stars, symbols, and stone, a dialect of the eternal. Its destruction by Alexander's torch did not silence it. Rather, it scattered its essence into the winds, embedding its frequency into the earth itself. Persepolis may yet live, not in the bustle of its lost streets, but in the resonance beneath the soil, in the undercurrents of collective memory, awaiting reactivation. This is no idle ruin. It is a cipher, a challenge to the modern mind, dulled by the mundane. Its columns, though broken, still point skyward, as if straining to reconnect with the constellations that birthed them. The griffins atop those pillars, though weathered, still glare with knowing eyes, as if privy to secrets we've yet to reclaim. The lotus motifs, though cracked, still bloom in silent defiance of time's erosion, whispering of cycles we no longer heed. And the staircases, though worn by centuries, still invite ascent, not just of the body, but of the spirit. Persepolis compels us to ask, was it a city at all, or a temple disguised as one? A machine cloaked in majesty. Its very existence suggests the ancients saw the world as a living whole, a web of meaning where every stone, every angle, every ritual held purpose. Its fall, those 3 days of fire, might not have been an end, but a transformation, a scattering of its essence into the ether, a seed buried for a future harvest. Today, as we sift through its remnants, we are not merely archaeologists of dirt and debris. We are seekers of a lost frequency, listeners at the edge of a vast silence. Persepolis does not yield its truths easily. It demands we shed our assumptions, that we approach not with tools but with awe, not with intellect alone but with intuition. It stands as a paradox, a city of the past that feels perpetually present, a ruin that radiates life, a monument of stone that hums with the intangible. Perhaps its unfinished state is its final gift, a reflection of our own incompleteness, a call to continue the work it began. For in its stillness, it is anything but silent. It vibrates with a question that haunts and beckons. What if we too are part of its design, fragments of a greater whole, waiting to awaken to the stars that still watch over us? Persepolis is no mere echo of history. It is a living enigma, a cosmic instrument whose song persists, faint but unbroken, beneath the surface of all we think we know. And then came the fire. In the spring of 330 BCE, under the unrelenting shadow of Alexander the Great, Persepolis, the radiant jewel of the Achaemenid realm, the sacred fulcrum where heaven and earth converged, was swallowed by a relentless inferno. The why of it remains cloaked in enigma, a riddle lost to the ages. Historians murmur of vengeance, a cold, calculated reprisal for the Persian torching of Athens a century and a half prior, a wound still festering in the Greek soul. Others weave tales of a bacchanalian night spiraling into chaos, where Thais, a courtesan swept up in the frenzied rites of Dionysus, goaded Alexander to set the city ablaze as a grand theatrical flourish of triumph. Yet these explanations, compelling as they seem, falter under the weight of what perished that night. What if the burning of Persepolis was no mere byproduct of war or wine, but a deliberate act, a ritual steeped in cosmic intent, a ceremonial rupture to seal an epoch? In the ancient world, fire was no simple destroyer. It was a purifier, a crucible, a gateway through which the material transcended into spirit. Could Alexander, wittingly or as an unwitting pawn, have enacted a final liturgy, an immolation to sever the thread of sacred kingship, returning divine order to the void from whence it came? The timing reeks of precision. Spring, a season of rebirth, paired with the spectacle of flames consuming a city too vast to fall by chance. This was no haphazard violence. It bore the hallmarks of sacrifice, orchestrated with an almost otherworldly intent. The flames danced across every column, every chamber, every carved procession, yet they could not obliterate what Persepolis truly embodied. Paradoxically, the fire became its preserver. Organic remnants, wood, fabric, flesh, dissolved into ash and vapor, but the stone endured, scorched and cracked yet resolute. The reliefs of emissaries, the geometric precision, the encoded symbols, they survived, as if the blaze itself inscribed a testament for posterity. The fire did not erase. It stripped away the ephemeral, leaving a skeletal framework of memory etched into the earth. In its aftermath, Persepolis shed its crown of kingship. No longer a living throne, it sank beneath the sands, a spectral imprint pressed into the planet's crust. A whisper of what once was, now dormant but never dead. Alexander, in his hubris, could not have foreseen the alchemy of his act. By torching Persepolis, he did not extinguish its essence. He transmuted it. What had pulsed as a beacon of cosmic harmony shifted into a latent archive, a reservoir of meaning awaiting rediscovery. The city did not collapse, it metamorphosed, trading flesh for phantom, sanctuary for symbol, presence for potential. Like a star collapsing into a black hole, it drew the vastness of its history into a single silent point of infinite density. Centuries later, we wander its ruins, our fingers brushing stones, still radiating the heat of that ancient pyre, still humming with memory. And we are left to wonder, was this destruction or ascension? Did Alexander conquer mere mortar? Or was he a cog in a grander machinery, fulfilling a prophecy etched in starlight? When an era ends, its instruments must return to the cosmos, dissolved, transformed, or buried until their time comes again. Perhaps Persepolis was never destined to stand forever in stone, but to resonate in myth, to linger in the soul of time itself. The fire, then, was not its end but its rebirth, a violent chrysalis splitting open to release something eternal. What if its burning was the closing of one cosmic chapter and the seeding of another? The reliefs still gaze outward, unyielding as if they know something we do not. The staircases, though worn, still beckon upward, toward a sky that watched it all unfold. In its silence, Persepolis speaks, not of defeat, but of endurance, not of loss, but of latency. It challenges us to see beyond the ashes, to hear the frequency beneath the ruin. For in its fall, it did not fade. It shifted into shadow, into echo, into a question that lingers across millennia. Was this the death of a city, or the birth of a signal, a call from the stars encoded in flame and stone, waiting for minds awake enough to hear? Beneath the towering splendor of Persepolis lies a language not scripted in ink or spoken in tongues, but etched in the silent grammar of stars, geometry, and sacred symbols. A dialect crafted not merely for the eyes, but for the awakened soul. Its stones murmur of celestial cadences, of alignments unseen yet ever-present, their meanings stretching beyond the rise and fall of empires into the boundless expanse of time. At the core of this enigma looms a haunting motif, the lion, fierce and regal, sinking its jaws into the bull's throat, repeated with meticulous care across stairways and reliefs. To the casual glance, it might signal triumph or dominion, a predator subduing its prey. Yet to those who peer through the lens of archaeoastronomy, it unveils a deeper truth, a cosmic timestamp. The lion is Leo, the bull is Taurus, and their eternal clash marks the spring equinox in the age of Taurus, a celestial epoch spanning 4,000 to 6,000 years ago. This emblem, mirrored in the art of Mesopotamia and Egypt, transcends mere decoration. It is a universal signpost, an astronomical cipher, whispering that Persepolis's architects were not blind to the heavens but bound to its rhythms, perhaps even in dialogue with its unseen architects. Then there is the lotus, its 12 petals unfurling across the stone like a fossilized hymn to the cosmos. 12 petals, 12 months, 12 zodiacal domains, a subtle yet resonant testament that the Achaemenids lived not just by earthly seasons, but by the vast turning of the celestial wheel. This was no idle ornament. It was a mandala carved in rock, a mnemonic key to time, transformation, and perhaps the soul's eternal return. Could Persepolis, like Angkor Wat or the pyramids of Giza, have served as a stellar calendar? Not merely to track days, but to attune human awareness to the grand choreography of the universe. The evidence lies in its bones. The Apadana's axis tilting towards stars revered in Zoroastrian sky cults, the gates and pathways angled with a precision too deliberate to be chance. These were not aesthetic whims but echoes of a stellar symphony, tuning the city like a vast instrument to resonate with forces beyond mortal grasp. But to what end, and for whom? Here, the mystery thickens, teetering on the edge of forbidden wonder. What if those who raised Persepolis were more than masons or stargazers? What if they were initiates, guardians of an interstellar legacy veiled in myth? What if the city was a machine, part observatory, part sanctuary, part conduit, built to bridge Earth to a higher intelligence? Across ancient cultures, from the Dogon of Mali to the Vedic seers of India, whispers persist of knowledge gifted by beings from the stars. Not gods in human guise, but radiant entities, stewards of cosmic order. In Zoroastrian tradition, Ahura Mazda emerges as such a presence, a luminous essence descending from light, his name itself a beacon of wisdom and transmission. Was Persepolis their outpost, a terrestrial node to sustain communion with these intelligences, a temple to their glory, or a terminal for their signals? The question lingers, unanswered yet insistent, in the city's mute precision. Even in ruin, its symmetry sings of mathematics, its symbols pulse with archetypes, its silence reverberates with intent. Persepolis stands as a cipher, a relic poised for a future yet to arrive, its codes dormant but not extinct. It is no mere monument to faded glory, it is a map of memory, a testament to humanity's lost kinship with the cosmos. To gaze upon it is not to study history, but to feel a stir of recognition, a pull toward something forgotten yet faintly alive. In its stillness, it waits, not for archaeologists with shovels, but for minds ready to hear the stars once more. As we pull back the veil from Persepolis, a startling tapestry unfurls. One that binds this ancient marvel not merely to its regional chronicle, but to a sprawling, enigmatic architecture spanning the globe. From the sands of Giza in Egypt to the jungles of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, from the highlands of Teotihuacan in Mexico to the plateau of Persepolis, monumental sites rise with a precision that defies explanation, their foundations locked to celestial waypoints, their forms steeped in sacred symbols. Separated by vast oceans and millennia, these edifices seem to vibrate in unison, as if penned by a singular, unseen hand in a lost cosmic script. This haunting resonance has ignited speculation among scholars, mystics, and rogue thinkers. Could there exist an ancient global grid, a web of sacred loci positioned along Earth's ley lines, those elusive energetic arteries said to pulse like the meridians of a living body? These invisible threads, converging at nodal points, weave a lattice of power. Some call it telluric, others cosmic, channeling forces beyond mortal ken. Within this grand design, Persepolis emerges not as a solitary relic, but as a vital node, a spiritual dynamo tuned to capture and radiate frequencies that whisper of realms unknown. If Giza stood as a sentinel of rebirth, and Angkor Wat reflected the Milky Way's spiral dance, then Persepolis might have been a command center, an interdimensional fulcrum linking Earth to the unfathomable. Far more than a royal seat, it was a throne of awareness, a sanctuary for communion with intelligences lurking at the edges of human myth. In ancient Iranian lore, Ahura Mazda emerges not as a deity of flesh, but as a luminous essence, a bearer of light and wisdom, descending to guide humanity's dawn. His title, Wise Lord, hints not at petty tribal gods, but at a cosmic architect, an interstellar envoy. The city's cryptic carvings, its deliberate symmetry, its star-line geometry, they pulse with echoes of this exchange, as if built to cradle something extraterrestrial, a bridge between dimensions. Some dare to trace this thread further, to the Anunnaki of Mesopotamian tales, those who from the heavens came, whose parallels with Ahura Mazda unsettle the mind, both as bringers of order, sowers of knowledge, harbingers of law. Were these distinct beings, or merely facets of the same cosmic emissaries, refracted through the prisms of culture? If so, Persepolis rises as a point of confluence. Geographic, yes, but also metaphysical. A nexus where stellar messages were once deciphered by seers and sages, then locked in stone for a future yet unborn. To the modern eye, this borders on the fantastical, yet the uncanny alignments threading the ancient world demand we pause. How did scattered peoples, supposedly unlinked, seize the same celestial truths, wield the same architectural codes, sing the same spiritual arithmetic? The stones of Persepolis, poised on this planetary grid, defy the shallow tales of primitivism. They proclaim our ancestors as initiates, players in a saga that arcs beyond Earth into the cosmic soul. Perhaps what they left us is not rubble, but resonance, a latent hum awaiting those bold enough to listen, to rekindle, to resume a dialogue with the stars. In the arid stillness of Persepolis, where desert winds sweep over layers of ash and time, a revelation stirs beneath the surface, one that defies the muted expectations of a bygone age. Modern archaeologists, sifting through the sunlit remnants of administrative halls, have uncovered not gold or swords, but data. Thousands of clay tablets inscribed in Elamite script, chronicling not tales of war, but a society of startling care and order. These records detail rations, grain, wine, oil, distributed with exacting precision to female workers, artisans, and temple keepers, not as slaves but as named, paid laborers. This was no crude dominion. Persepolis housed an economy vast yet ethical, its complexity woven with a moral thread that challenges our smug assumptions of primitive antiquity. Why has such a model slipped into oblivion, and what society wielded both the mathematics and the conscience to orchestrate it? Stranger still are the subterranean marvels beneath, qanats, an intricate web of channels carved into the earth, engineered with a hydrological mastery that rivals today's finest systems. These were not mere conduits for crops, they likely purified sacred spaces, washing away not just dust but unseen discord. Then come whispers of something darker, more elusive, buried in obscure studies. Faint traces of radiation linger in the stone, too potent for natural decay, too anomalous for fire or forge. Some mutter of ancient lightning, others, bolder, hint at an energetic rupture, technological or celestial, that once seared this ground with uncharted force. Was Persepolis a crucible of clashing energies, caught in a storm beyond earthly feuds? Who wove this tapestry of sophistication, crafting a city not just to shelter flesh, but to harness unseen currents? And why, with all our vaunted progress, do we falter at replicating its cosmic symmetry, its societal harmony, its enduring voice in stone? The silence of Persepolis is not vacant, it broods, heavy with intent. It mirrors our fractured present, a world quaking under its own ingenuity, riven by division, ecological ruin, and a soul-deep estrangement. On its charred walls, ancient kings inscribed not conquest, but arta, truth, order, righteousness in Zoroastrian parlance, a vow to stand against the creeping tide of chaos. Here, the king was no despot, but a steward, tasked with preserving a sacred equilibrium between the human and the divine. Those cuneiform oaths, entombed beneath centuries of dust, feel less like relics of pride, and more like admonitions for a distant age, ours perhaps. Could Persepolis's fiery end, its burial, its slow resurrection be no accident, but a deliberate arc in a grander design, timed to re-emerge when memory falters most? In this lens, it transcends ruin to become prophecy, a fossilized oracle reflecting not just the heavens, but a moral architecture aligned with them. Its message cuts through time, sharp and urgent, a call to recalibrate not merely our systems, but our very essence. Look closer, and the tablets, the qanats, the radiation, they weave a narrative not of lost glory, but of lost wisdom. A society that grasped what we've let slip, the interplay of earth and sky, man and mystery. Today, as chaos looms anew, political, ecological, existential, Persepolis stands as both mirror and warning. Are we treading the same cycle it once endured and foretold, a spiral of forgetting the sacred balance that holds existence together? The lion still bites the bull in eternal stone, the lotus still blooms with 12 silent petals, symbols of a cosmic clock we've ceased to read. Its fall was not failure, but a pause, a seed buried for a season of reckoning. And now, as we teeter on the edge of our own disintegration, its voice rises from the sand, not to boast but to question. Will we heed the ancient vow of Arta, restoring order before the next fire comes? Or will we, like those before us, arrive too late, leaving only ashes for the next to decipher? Persepolis waits, not as a tomb but as a sentinel, its mysteries daring us to listen, to remember, to act, before the cycle turns again.